Hi, everybody. Welcome back. So today we are going to be reviewing for the midterm. So it's already upon us. 10-week class goes by really fast. Welcome back from break if you are on break. If not, just welcome back to week 5. So previously we had the quizzes and whatnot of week 4, but as you can see, I decided to make quiz 4 be due this week. So that everyone, whatever break you were taking, would have a chance to take it. So today I'm going to basically help with review. I'm going to review a lot of the random topics that we've been talking about in this course. And then I'll be using the study guide to do that. And that's kind of how I'm hoping that you guys will study for the midterm exam. There will also be a review question that'll ask you something pretty similar, basically using the study guide to answer specific questions in order to review for the exam. So if you've forgotten, it may have been a while. Basically, the process is today is review day, today Tuesday, and then Thursday, the midterm will be available. So that's Thursday, the 1st of April, which I can't believe it's already April coming up, but we are getting there. So that's the plan, is that I will put that up, and then I'll put the midterm up. I will make it accessible first thing in the morning, like literally midnight, and then it will be available until midnight on Tuesday. Sorry, on Thursday. It'll be available till midnight on Thursday, the 1st. So that's the plan. You'll be able to take it anytime during the day. You will even be able to pause and come back to it if you need to. So you can take as long as you need as well. I don't want it to be a super restrictive thing. I just want you guys to show that you know the material. So should be pretty straightforward. Let's see. Other things. So I've been putting up these lists of things that are due every week. This is the one for week 5. So this is the video lecture that you're watching right now. It will be posted today, Tuesday the 30th. Then on the 31st, sorry, what did I say? Oh, yes. Okay, so Tuesday the 30th is when this video lecture will go up. Then I have the quiz. Because I gave the quiz a little more time, I'm having it due Wednesday by midnight, so anytime before Thursday. So tomorrow, Wednesday the 31st, is when you can take quiz number 4. So the stuff on quiz number 4 will help you review for the exam as well. Then at the same time, that's when the discussion will be due as well. It will be due before Thursday. So anytime on Wednesday, you can turn either of those in. Well, ideally both of those. And then the midterm will be available starting first thing in the morning on Thursday and available all day. The last thing is the research paper topic. So at the end of the class, you are going to be doing a research paper. So I originally had that research paper topic be due on the same time as the midterm, but that doesn't make any sense. You guys are going to be studying for the midterm anyway and wanting to be prepared for that. So I wanted to give you a little bit more time, so I changed what it says in the syllabus. So instead of being due on Thursday, it is going to be due on Tuesday, a week from today. And basically, in terms of the paper topics, you can pick basically from a wide variety of topics, but you get to determine what you want to do with the assignment, what you want to do with the research paper. So here's basically how it's all laid out, and I'll set up a prompt for this as well. I'll post a prompt page, but it'll be pretty similar to this. Your goal will be to pick any artist, philosopher, time period, or movement and analyze that particular topic. It'll be about 6 to 8 pages. And basically, you don't have to have anything yet by Thursday, just an idea of what you want to write about. And if you end up wanting to change it later on, that's fine. Just let me know. Anything that you think would be interesting to write about, I will have a Dropbox open where you can just submit a 1-page short description of what you want to write about. It could even be a few sentences if you want, just like a quick explanation of what you want to write about and why. So other things for the research paper, please try to find at least 2 sources other than the textbook for the research paper. and follow MLA format, meaning that you'll have a works cited page or bibliography page, and when ever you need to make a particular claim, you can cite your source by going like that. So you say the person and the page number in parentheses whenever you make an argument based on a work that you've read. So that's the research paper. That's due at the end of the class, so we've still got another 5 weeks on that one. But I'd like to get you guys thinking about what you'd like to write about. So that's when, so Tuesday is, a week from today is when the research topic will be due. I'll have a Dropbox for that, so it will be in the assignments page. Phew, okay. That's a sort of housekeeping out of the way. Don't think there's anything else. So let's see. What else? Okay. So now from here on out, I want to just review. So like I said, I'm using the study guide to review here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through different data points on here and review just various different topics. You may want to follow along or whatever you want to do. One thing you could do is you could write on the piece of paper, you could print it out, or you could type like this. So let's just answer some of these questions here. And then that will give you guys an idea of where we're going with all this. Just thinking back on the whole class, because I know it has been a while. So let's start with the first one. There are different categories here. You can see there's three-ish, four-ish different categories. We did a lot of stuff with the Romantic period. So for the first category, we have the Enlightenment and the Scientific Revolution. And so the first questions there are, what was the Scientific Revolution? How did it change the way people thought? And I'm actually going to do the second one too. What was the Enlightenment? What were its major ideas? Was it optimistic or pessimistic? Because those ideas are kind of linked together. So basically, these are two movements that happened at around the same time. And why don't I switch over to PowerPoint here? Let's see here. So PowerPoint. Let's see. Sorry, technical difficulties always get us. Okay. So scientific revolution was basically a new period in science, or really a period where science came to be defined. After the time when Copernicus made his measurements of the heavens and proposed the heliocentric theory, and kind of going until the time of Sir Isaac Newton, who put one of the last pieces in place by developing the theory of gravity. Galileo was another important one. He kind of confirmed through telescope observations the ideas of Copernicus and established the heliocentric theory that the sun was at the center of the solar system. And so in general, these guys all sort of encapsulate this sort of feeling of we're finding a new way to study the world. We're examining the world, we're testing out what we believe, and we're coming up with answers. That's the big difference between different previous time periods and this one, is the willingness to test out your ideas and demonstrate that you know things for sure. So a lot of new stuff comes from this time period, and it basically sort of starts to revolutionize what resources people have at their disposal, what ideas they can work with. You've got people like Descartes, you've got like Copernicus, Tycho Brahe is another astronomer. Kepler's the one who realizes that planets travel in ellipses. And so really it's a scientific revolution makes people realize they can figure this stuff out, and that everything can be understood using math and what we now think of as physics. That things in the skies are not just part of God or part of the heavens. They aren't just magic. They are something that we can determine and prove and understand. And this was a bit controversial, led to Galileo being interacting with the church, but ultimately it was a positive development and kind of key to observations today and to ideas of the world today. The Enlightenment is pretty closely linked to that. So the Enlightenment is basically the sort of philosophy companion to all of that. So basically we had new thinkers proposing that we should have a rational philosophy where we test out our ideas, whatever they are, whatever we think. Um, and so you have people like Descartes who doubts everything in the universe until he can find something that he believes in. You have people like Spinoza who believes that you can understand anything in the universe and believes that God is the spirit that inhabits all the universe. Everything is God, things like that. You have Pascal, who who realizes that people are doubting God and tries to make an argument for why it's in people's best interests and why it's in a way scientific. Then you've got people like John Locke, and a lot of people who are really influential in terms of political philosophy, like Locke proposing that you have a social contract between the governed and the government. And that was sort of foundational to the creation of the United States and to other modern democracies. But maybe the most important of all is Francis Bacon, who basically promotes this idea of don't go just by your intuition, don't just go by a guess, don't just go by what people have told you or what you think you should believe. Test everything out. Test everything out. Try it out and see if you know for sure. And so that is like kind of the fundamental idea here. So you have the rationalists and then you have the Enlightenment going along with that. So getting back to the specific questions about the Enlightenment and the scientific revolution. So the scientific revolution changed the way people thought. In that, they had to contend with the fact that the universe is not as simple as they had assumed, and not every question could be found by looking to God. Then the Enlightenment, some of the major ideas, you have the social contract, you have the idea of like trying to make people's lives better and improve them. You have the idea that you should doubt. You have the idea and test things out because you don't know things for sure. And question anything that other people have told you. And ultimately, I would say that the Enlightenment was very optimistic rather than pessimistic. Enlightenment thinkers believed we could improve things and figure things out and perfect the universe, perfect society. And that kind of comes in contrast with some of the dark side of the Enlightenment that we saw later on, that the world was, this was a time of great colonialism, and some of the same people were saying, oh, let's figure everything out, let's be good, let's make the perfect society. We're also kind of treating other cultures horribly and taking them over and colonizing them. So it's tricky, but the Enlightenment thinkers were ultimately optimistic, and they believed that human beings were good and could be good. You also had people like Rousseau, who argued that humans in nature were good, it was just society that corrupted them, and the reverse in Hobbes, who believed that society was good and human beings were bad in nature. Okay, so might be a good starting point for those ideas. Let's talk about the Romantic period as well. So we're looking at all these different movements here. So Romanticism. What were the major ideas of Romanticism? Well, the Romantics could be a bit more critical of the world than the Enlightenment thinkers. They were not so much about improving society. They were more about passion. I think if there's one thing to sum up the Romantic artists and thinkers, it's passion. They were passionate about everything. They saw the beauty of the world and they saw the terror of the world. They saw the bad things that were going on. Sometimes they would depict them, but more often they would depict the beauty and nature of wild open spaces. We looked at quite a few of those, but the major ideas would say would be sort of emotion and nature. Whatever emotion is within you, that's what an Enlightenment artist would want you to celebrate. So we talked a fair bit about the Romantics. We looked at Romantic art and music. Another big thing with the Romantics is heroes. We see this in their depiction of Napoleon, this artist Gross, who depicted Napoleon. The poet Pushkin also depicted Napoleon in his poems. And in general, there was a real searching for heroes. So I guess that's three big things. Nature, emotion, and heroes are all very big in the Romantic period. And why do we call it romantic? Because it's about passion. Now that might be passion that's romantic in our sense, but could be passion really in any sense. Could be any kind of passion. And in general, romantic artists try to paint art. The painters try to paint in ways that will capture nature and capture this sort of wild intensity. This is sort of romanticism comes along in the first half of the 1800s, especially. And by this time, Enlightenment thinkers had really developed their painting techniques and used a lot of light and dark, but Romanticism made everything a little bit more wild, a little bit more weird. And they tried to capture a lot more ordinary things, like just farms and nature and storms and things like that. So they still use that ability with light and whatnot, but they weren't so much focused on the humans as the Enlightenment painters were. They were more focused on nature. But sometimes they could comment on human cruelty, as we saw with Turner and his painting of the slave ship, where all the slaves were, the 6 slaves were thrown overboard. But yeah, this is sort of the broadest overview of Romantic thought. It's connected to the American tradition of transcendentalism, which has a lot of poetry about nature and beauty, and sort of a new Christian religious movement that celebrated nature, primarily to be found in America. So those would be some of the broadest overview of sort of the romanticism of nature. And so, yeah, so the big idea is nature, heroes, and emotion, passion. Basically, they want to make their paintings look more passionate. They want to talk more about their feelings. They also don't want to be so formal all the time. Enlightenment people were very stuffy compared to romantics. Romantics are still a bit stuffy, but romantics would sort of make the poems a little looser, have a little more fun with it. Whereas Enlightenment was all about being perfect and rhyme scheme and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's kind of a foundation of Romanticism there. Definition of pantheism. This is something that a lot of people believed in, especially in the transcendentalist movement. So pantheism means all God. So everything is God. The entire universe is God. And if you think about it, you can see why this would be very appealing to people in sort of a romantic frame of mind, that they would see nature and say, oh, this is God that I'm beholding here. People still talk about that today. They, say they see God in the mountains. They feel the presence of God. Romanticism, celebrating nature. We talked about that a bit already, but for more examples of romantic works that celebrate nature, you can look at the poetry of Walt Whitman. He is constantly talking about nature and just sort of the beauty of everyday people. But you could look at any of these paintings as well. So it would be a good thing for the test to remember one of these paintings. So for instance, like the Forest of Fontainebleau by Corot, or just the name Turner, that Turner was an artist who painted, the storm and the slave ship, William Turner, fisherman's ship and the slave ship. Or you could talk about the works of John Constable, who had this sort of white dotting all over everything. You could just say, the paintings by John Constable show the romantic style of nature painting. Or there's a whole bunch more after this when we get to the Americans. There's Church, there's Bierstadt, there's Thomas Cole. So any of these names, if you can use the names of one of these painters on the test as an example, you'll be in good shape. Okay, so let's say that's the first half. I'll do one more video, and that'll be kind of it for our review, and then we'll also have the review discussion question. Okay, see you in the next video.